Hi everyone! Today we thought that it could be a very good topic to talk about how to get into the industry. There's been a lot of talk about someone that is aficionado game, I don't know, you're curious or you just want to develop your career into the industry. How can you get into this world that from the outside might seem like so hermetic or so closed up? I don't know. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. I would love to hear your feedback, your experiences, if you are in the industry or if you tried what didn't work or what did work. That would be very awesome. So let's see. I guess the most honest thing is to start by myself. How did I get into the industry? A lot of people, most of the people that I know and that I work and that are my colleagues or even my partners for many years already, they always had this vision, their passion and their goal to work into the industry. It was very strong since a very early age. For myself, it was not like that. My goal as even a kid, I always wanted to have a business. When I was a kid, I remember wanting to actually operate one of the counting machines on the supermarket, for example. That at the end felt to me, wow, amazing task. They don't exist anymore. Everything gets barcoded, so people giving the feedback, most of the fun is being gone about it. But that was it. My goal was to be a businesswoman. I always wanted to be a businesswoman. It was not like, oh, are they enjoying businesswoman. It was like this super passion and clear vision of myself. That's like to see not necessarily like that. It's just that I surround myself with artists, with creators, with people that work into a creative industry. So they feel a lot more strongly about what they want to create and what they want to communicate and how they want to do it. For me, it's a bit more abstract. Yeah, exactly. What was your dream job when you were a kid? Well, me personally wanted to study vet. I wanted to study for vet, but I actually wanted to travel the world protecting animals, wild animals. That was very strong in me. I had a very clear view of myself doing, but I'm not good at physics or chemistry or blood. So I had to actually get away of that career path when I was 16. I had to move away from that. 16, 17 years old. I had to, because I was really bad at physics. And here in Spain, if you don't are good in this kind of physics, chemistry, then you are barred from getting into, there's always that experience of medicine kind of things. But anyway, when I first got a job in the video game industry, I did not know that it was in the video game industry. I actually got a job as a system manager, and I was hired because I had knowledge of English and I knew accountancy and had a bare knowledge of administrative work. And that's how I got, because at that point, and I was 21 years old, at that point I thought that video games that I've been playing for all my life, that's no doubt about it, I always play video games. I always thought the games were done in Japan or very far away. Never thought for 1 second that games could be done near Barcelona or in Barcelona. It could be very interesting to share with you guys. It was a big surprise, but once I got to know the people that work, because I got to get into a video game developer, and I knew, my colleagues, a lot of them, well, not a lot, 3 of them became my partners later on, and let's get into it. Colleagues of the industry currently from that era are still people in the industry nowadays. A lot the industry.
came from a previous game developer.
But at that moment, almost all of them were very passionate about doing video games, and it wasn't easy at that time in Spain because there was no because there was no education, there was no industry, there was no platforms, there were no events, there was nothing. There was only the passion of these people that were almost all of them were self-taught programmers that knew assembler, C++, everything they knew. It was mostly self-taught. Artists tended to have more background, like educational background, like they could have learned or they could have studied arts, where they would learn the traditional art, but then they would apply it to the digital world. Even at that time, it was pixels though.
The name of the company was Management.
So,
and this company,
I was very impressed at that time because of this passion and this focus and this goal oriented. And I keep finding these kind of people, and it's pretty common to find this kind of people in the industry. I am not necessarily one of those. I'm not that. I love video games. For me, I spend lots of hours playing video games as an entertainment to myself, and I love it as an artistic creation, and I love the industry. I love the people that work in the industry, like 99.9% of them. There's always that little troublemakers, let's call them that you could live without, but the vast majority of people working in the industry is such good quality. It's just artistic with technology savvy, so it's a fantastic mix. For me, at a certain point, even though I got into the industry, let's say by accident, I decided to do a career of it later on in my life, and it made total sense because it was that perfect mix of everything that I have done up until that moment, professionally and educationally, and as goal of my life. Of course, I produce, but I don't program, I don't do art, I don't really do design. I might take some decisions, but it's someone else that will adapt that into a good real design development, whatever.
It is
right?
a lot.
That's how I got into the industry. But then we regularly receive requests from students, from people, juniors that want to break into the industry. We are not like, and even if it were, it's not gonna work for everybody, right? It's not. You cannot employ or everybody, or you cannot give an interview to every student that wants to learn what the video game industry is and wants to learn what we do on a daily basis. It's not always feasible. So what does the people that click do currently these days? It is very recommended to do a study on any part of the production of a video game. That is very healthy. It doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum, but as long as you know something, it's gonna help you.
And everything was done under the
especially if you're humble about it, right? Just because you know something doesn't mean you know everything. Keep it humble, keep it real. But knowing a bit of it will help you to be a bit more understanding of what is going on the process. That doesn't mean that I'm not aware of anything. I've done a lot of stuff, even though I'm not good at them, or I can be better at other stuff, right? Let's see.
We also did.
Currently, there's a lot of education offered. There's degrees everywhere. There's a lot of degrees. Are they necessary to get into the industry? No. Are they helpful? Yes. just recently I had an interview and I said, listen, having a degree is not mandatory. However, it's gonna set the basis of where you are going to be building on top. If there's no basis and you're gonna do everything self-taught and on your back, I don't know. It's just gonna make it harder. And it's going to be very complicated to build upon that. Is it impossible? No, anything is possible, especially in this industry, believe me. I try to sometimes draw some conclusions or draw some hard lines, or these have to be done like this, or if you do A, then you will have B and then C. But in video games, for every case there's an exception. Video games is as industry as French to the
not
languages.
The best business deal that I've
for
ever
every
seen.
case there's 100 exceptions.
Not the best
So,
because
but you can do things right.
Sold the company
And if you do things right,
and when
eventually
they bought it back,
it'll happen. And when it happens,
I don't think it was that.
you'll know why it happened.
I don't know the
and
numbers,
you will be able to iterate,
but I know
improve, and
even
repeat.
if they pay the same,
That's the difference between chance.
It wasn't that great
professionalism.
Because what they sold.
Another thing
was
I think it's okay, at least for software development, to be self-taught, and then go pick up a degree afterwards.
And
as I said, a lot of I mean, two of my partners are self-taught, or three. Because one of them did, as you say, Nuru. He got a degree afterwards, but he started learning programming at, I think it was 10 years old.
I think are interesting because it's part of the history.
And then later on, 20 something,
if I get lost into
even
a thought of
later,
of the
got the
time,
degree. But my point is that you don't need the structure education, but it might help you to have a ground, a base ground, right? And there's stuff that can be taught, it can be learned, and it's going to speed your process, right? And then Nuru says it's good because you can formalize a lot of useful knowledge. Made me better at collaborating than when I was always self-taught. Yes, exactly. I mean, what's funny about the formal education? That you think that you're gonna learn a lot of the subject that you're actually learning, but when everything is said and done and you have your degree, you realize that the most important things that you learn were not actually about the subject matter, but how to work with others, how to organize yourself, how to be serious, professional, how to finish, how to I don't know, so many things that are not in the description of mathematics or business degree or law degree. I mean, I study history of law. Is it useful? No. What I learned, that I can take on pretty, stuff and pass it successfully. So that's endurance for you.
I don't know.
That's endurance. That's also important to learn. Okay, so to the point. You can be self-taught. Actually, currently, because there is so much education available, so much education, so many degrees offered, and at different levels. It can be a university degree, or it can be a technical degree, or it can be a school degree. And people with talent will run with whatever they got and be amazing professionals, right? I want to say that I would rather keep someone that is better at working with others, easy to work with, that likes the challenge, that is positive, that it's proactive. I would rather keep a good attitude than someone that is great at doing whatever it is he or she does. I am not gonna keep someone that it's hard to work, difficult, but amazing.
Or they were
I'm sorry. Video game development, video game working. It's a team, team player industry, and
Sometimes
that means that you have to be a good team player. If you're not good at playing with others, you cannot work
platformer,
with me. With my team, anybody. I mean, what we do wouldn't be possible to do it if everybody would be a prima donna. I mean, we all have to take pride in what we all do. From from QA to CEO to creative director to lead artist to producer to technical artists to UX UI programmers to lead programmer to basically whatever, it doesn't matter. Attitude before knowledge, that's for sure. Of course that doesn't mean that I'm gonna keep a rock just because it's nice. You have to know, you have to, of course. I mean, it's just the development, but at the same level of expertise, I'm for sure gonna keep someone that is a good team player, that it's easy to work with, and I don't mean an doormat. I mean easy, someone that goes into the same direction as you go, makes your way easy, and it doesn't mean anything bad on anybody just because you're able to work together, right? Anyway, it's been always said and communicated and expressed within the Abylight Studios family, human resources, interviews, always. I don't know, whenever we've had the opportunity to say, if you want to do video games, do them. Always do them. You don't need, especially nowadays where there's so many ready-made engines for so many levels of expertise, do video games. You can do. It doesn't matter what it is. Probably if you're aiming for, Zelda, you're gonna end up with Snake. But it's okay. You start there and then you build upon that. It's okay. Probably if you start on Snake right now, maybe you won't get a job necessarily. I don't know. Depends on how cool the Snake is. But you might not get a job right away on the company or doing what you want to do. But you definitely are doing what it's necessary to do. I know that there's a lot of companies that currently request that people have experience in published games, but it makes sense because the industry is growing not only as the number of people that gets in, but as the years go by. So it makes sense to request a bit more than we could some years back, because obviously people have more experience, time has passed, there is more people, there is more education, there's just a bit, there's just more of everything. So I would say that's why it is depending on the level. So obviously a junior won't necessarily. I don't think anybody requests a junior to have a published game, a commercial or console published game, right? But for a senior, I would say absolutely. Then again, if you're into free to play for mobile, then probably you won't need it either. So
I pay for your work. So
there's always exceptions. And Nora is saying, the value is low with these engines. They're pretty great for creative output from people of all skills. Actually, it's we've talked about it in the past. Thanks to this amount of ready-made engines and these solutions that are easy to be used by more creative people but less technical people, that means that amazing games have been able to be produced, created, and come to life, where it would be, the previous scenario where engines would be developed specifically for the game, and it was really costed and took long, it required a lot of more people. Well, it depends. It's just that I think there's influxes depending on where you're kind of getting your thinking of, right? You can send a resume, and if you get rejected for not having published games, send a follow-up email asking if they will publish your game.
Earn money.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, if you have a game to be published, I would be amazed that they wouldn't take that into account as a game.
Of how
if you're presenting your game, hey, I want to publish this game, would you employ me? Which is
even though you get paid for the
because
full production,
let's be honest, if you have a game to be published,
part of the revenue.
Well, of course, not all games are
ideally
money-maker machines, but
you would get paid your.
So Nuru, I think you're in the industry, right? So how did you get into the industry? Do you remember how it was?
Whatever.
You're right at your own pace. It's okay.
But that would
for many years, because Abylight is 18 years old as a company. When we got resumes, there was no. Maybe there was an engineer in informatics, right? But most often than not, it would be just people with experience. They were self-taught. That had put together games and
a lot of these. It had to be a really,
I thought you were from the industry. That's interesting.
Okay,
so you have a day job that is absolutely not related to anything creative or
great
technical,
successes,
like informatics,
but still.
Computers?
Nothing
that game
would
that happens.
Create a whole
so Nuru has a day job and does video game production for a little over 2 decades.
Still,
and uses the funds from his day job into
what was it, the 2000s in Poland?
Okay, you work as a software engineer though, Okay, so you're the quintessential indie developer. Sorry. You're the quintessential indie developer. That's the indie developer original
and
was someone that already worked in the industry and then decided to go. Exactly. Well, Localito actually is more like you. He doesn't have a job in the video game industry. He's made actually his passion. It's his hobby. He has a day job actually.
Game dev.
Video games is a side project. But he's awesome.
Gonna be very hard.
No, it's Javier. So Griffer87 is a teacher. He's a math teacher. Locomalito is, I don't want to mess it up, but I know he works at a creative agency. So he does like graphic design and that kind of work. I think that his agency does a lot of stuff. And I think he's like head or creative director or something like that within the agency, which makes total sense because it would be a waste otherwise.
Right now.
But Griffer is amazing too because he's like a math teacher at a high school. But he's proficient, he's a musician, he's a self-taught musician.
The clearest image.
Has maxed. So Nuru says like Griffer87 has maxed out his charisma stat. Because he's a mathematician. I guess. I mean, he's awesome. He's a really cool guy. A teacher who loves video games and makes music. That is a dream. It is indeed. Do you imagine? I mean, I recommend everybody. I always do. I always recommend to check Griffer87's videos on YouTube because he has like tutorials on how to create sounds, for example. I remember a video that we watch on one of our Abby meetups when we used to do them at the office, and we watched this video where he created the punch sound and he explained the 3 layers of sound, how to do it, how to record it. It was pretty cool.
An artist,
and it was so well explained that even myself got interested.
With this IP
it was really well explained. It's one of those videos, and this is before TikTok, right? So you know,
I can
hat off
imagine
because
that there's
he's
still
really good at
publishers
explaining
that look
things,
for
very
developers
visual,
to develop
very informative.
their
So,
ideas, but normally,
yeah, absolutely. So Nuru agrees
the
that
deals that I
Greta 87
see
might be an
more
amazing
is,
teacher because he's so passionate and he has
existing
that
IPs
strength and
that
that flow
they
when
want
he
a
explains
new
stuff.
take on that,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Okay, so
and that's
do
exactly
video games.
what we're doing.
There's
with
a
Prison
lot
Tycoon,
of
right?
solutions.
Prison
I
Tycoon was
believe
an
that
early
currently there
2000s
must be
IP
even you
that
do a
got
quick
several
Google search.
installments,
You can
and
find
it was
almost all
forgotten.
the engines
However,
to build
there
a
was
game.
a
There are dedicated
a very
engines
important
even
following
for
of the IP.
specific types of games
even
that you might be
whoever
interested. So
created it
research
and
that.
published it didn't
Proof
take care of
proof
the
interest.
IP.
Listen,
There
video games
was a
is not
following.
just
There
someone
was a
that
group of
tells you
people
what
that
you
liked
need to do. It's
the
where you come
IP
and
somehow,
solve
right?
issues. There is a
And,
goal where you want to go.
and-
Someone wants
yeah.
to create something,
and that's
and everybody
what,
around it,
Ziggurat
or
had.
you know,
They had the
it might be one person or a group of
and
people,
asked us,
but everyone
would you
around
do?
it, everyone
Right?
involved into the creation of a video game
and
has to solve
versus
that
what
issue
could have
and
happened in the past.
deliver
Listen, I have this
that
IP,
content
and I want you
to
to
the
do
players
A, B, and Z.
in a very
and I know exactly
successful
what I'm
way,
gonna do with it, and,
which
I
is
just want
producing
someone that will execute my will.
enjoyment into the people that are
my
going to
vision
be
or whatever, right?
playing the game, right?
And I
So,
find that evolution.
With all this, I mean that no matter what your role is
'Cause
into a
it
video game
makes a lot
company,
of
you will
sense.
have to keep up with yourself,
But
with the
it
industry,
wasn't so.
with what's going on. You
I
will
gotta
have
say
to
that I like it.
update your knowledge regularly.
I
You
love
have to
the
know
new
what's going on,
approach.
what's
even,
being used,
I mean,
what's
we're
being
working
produced,
with,
how is it
Ziggurat.
done,
But we can
and this
say
will
in
be
other, in other big,
looking
big
outside
players.
and looking inside.
We
It will
see
be
on, for
okay.
example, Nintendo,
So
where
I've been
we
given
see
this
how
task, which is the best way to do it.
how
And
they're,
maximizing
obscure all
that
IPs
will maximize
get
the enjoyment of
revamped
the
or
end user.
developed by,
Of course,
by
sometimes that connection
people, no?
is lost. It's like when you go to school
I
and you
cannot say that
learn
it's a
certain
work for
topics
hire
and you
deal
think to
because
yourself,
being
why am I
Nintendo,
going to
whatever
be
you
needing
do
this?
with
For example, a very good
Nintendo logo
example.
on it,
Square
and
roots.
any IP of Nintendo
I
will
learned
have
how to do that in school. I
logo
remember
on it.
perfectly how
will
and
sell
I actually
whatever
liked
Nintendo
the
wants, right?
symbol
Or
to
from the
draw
outside,
the
that's the
square root
impression.
to do the
so
processes
taking that
and all
into
that stuff.
account,
But
I can imagine
do I
a lot
really
of
need it?
developers being
Well, I honestly
motivated enough to even
don't
foot the
know
bill
if
of
I
the
need it
production
for
in those
anything in
cases,
my
right?
life.
It's like
I'm
sure money
pretty
at the
sure
end.
though
Sure
that it's
money.
being used
Because
for
it's gonna be
stuff
a
that I
Nintendo
use,
game.
right? To make things
and
work.
we are big.
But me personally, I don't
we will
use
be
it.
working
And if
on
I
one of our
ever
childhood
come to
IPs
the
or, you know,
situation,
something like that, 'cause
I will
that's what
pull my
Nintendo does.
phone or pull
Nintendo
whatever
knows their strengths
and do
their
it, right?
strengths is that they've been there.
So my
always.
point being,
So they are ready.
my point being
working
that
with,
sometimes
people
we
that
learn
grew
stuff
up,
that we
with their
don't know
games.
why it's useful,
and that they
but
are making
eventually it
decisions.
becomes
We
useful.
are making
I mean,
decisions, right? We
education
grew
is
up
for
with
a
Nintendo games, and
wide
we are the
range
ones
of
making
people,
decisions.
wide range of,
We are,
of
they don't have to
users,
talk to
which are the students, right?
parents
And I'm pretty sure
of,
that a lot of
consumer
people,
their
well,
games.
a
They are
percentage of
talking
the
directly
people
with
from my
fans
generation,
or,
if
childhood
they're in
fans of their
engineering or
Anyway,
I don't know,
this is the
whatever,
deal structure.
they might use square roots. That
they
it wasn't
might-
useful for
I
me
don't know how they do it,
doesn't mean that
but
it is not useful as a knowledge, right?
we see
And
that.
in video
We
games,
see
it's
that
the same thing.
Nintendo is not the only
Just
one
because you don't know what
developing
your
games
task,
with Nintendo,
especially here I'm
right?
talking
We
to the
saw
juniors,
it
right?
with
Just
Pokemon
because
Go,
you don't know
we saw it
what this
with,
task it's
King
meaningful
Kong,
for,
da, da, da.
that
I'm
doesn't
really bad
mean
with
that
names,
it's
by the
not
way.
important.
If you haven't noticed or
I
realized,
it's true though that I tend to explain or I like people to understand, and I think that it's better if people understand why something is useful for than rather to
still,
do it blindly.
you do work for
But
hire,
sometimes it might happen that
at the
whoever
beginning, or
should
the
be
get-go,
explaining it
that
to
I
you
said,
cannot do it for
is that,
whatever reason.
as a developer,
That
there
doesn't
is
discount that you
increases.
as a junior have to do it.
Risk decrease.
Have to do it.
Your
The
royalty
junior has to
goes
do
out
it.
the window.
The junior has to do it.
Because security has a price. And depending
checking
on
things that I don't want to forget to say. The video games.
Negotiating,
if you study
there
stuff,
will be more.
I want to say something. Current status here in Spain is that there's a lot of private schools having offer of degrees for video games that are really expensive. I'm not saying that those necessarily are the best or the only road to getting into the industry. There are actually other more cost effective. Then again,
produce a great return.
It will depend. Basically, it will depend on your talent and on your drive. Someone that has talent, it will have it a bit easier, but still will have to work a lot. Someone that has drive,
super secure,
and maybe it's not as talented, just because it has drive, it might get whatever
production company
it wants. Whatever she wants, it will get. If you have drive, you can get where you want to go.
It is only
but
perception.
Ideally, and that's my experience in video games. To make it well,
there's a lot of strings
you need both. Ideally, why? Because it's a creative industry. There is a lot of technological stuff, but it is creative. So if you have talent, that's gonna set you apart. Still, you're gonna have to work a lot. Because just talent, it will get you as far. You need really to push it.
But I'm not
explaining talent and drive,
or the relationship.
And then education will
between Abylight and
give you some basis to
as
build
a
upon,
general,
but it doesn't mean that it has to be a very expensive education or a very high education. Because at the company we had some apprenticeship spots, and at a certain point we were having like students from university and students from technical degree, and the students from technical degree were actually better. They were more focused, more passionate, more professional, more ready than those that came from the university. So just to show that just because the education is like 4 years or 5 years doesn't mean that it's going to be better. It just means it's going to be
Workfire gives you the impression.
So you have to choose what is more convenient. If you have something very clear, for example, if you're an artist and you have a very clear image of what you want to do a technical degree. Get those technical concepts. And not only or if you want to, because for whatever reason you want to get a university degree and you want to do arts, then do it. I'm not saying no to it, but it's not necessary. You can do a technical degree and then practice. Practice makes master, right? I wanted to say something here.
Milestones that there should be in a contract.
That's really good to hear. Some places dump a resume right on into the shredder. Degrees in there. Or isn't exactly the one they're asking for.
Error or mistake
I never do that.
Issue.
No. And then Nuru says lots of really talented people get skipped over by companies because of that. Yeah, but we're in the video game industry. We cannot afford that. I cannot afford that. I have to find talent wherever it is. And because the education right now in Spain for the industry, it's starting to be public too, which means affordable for everybody. It's private. That means that only very wealthy parents get to pay for the education of their kids. So that doesn't mean that the most talented guys, girls, get the education. Just the wealthier.
When reviewing contracts,
not everybody's rich, but anyway. But I want to say this. Doing a technical degree, having the drive, getting to a company, and doing an amazing job, that will get you a career. And that's how people in Abylight got their start doing, a technical degree, coming to do an apprenticeship on QA, and proving themselves to be so good, such great team players, so focused, so well driven, that they got hired. They got hired because the talent, the drive, everything was there. And that's the most important thing.
There's also,
I know that everybody doesn't have the talent, but you might have the drive or the passion or the brain, or everybody. I believe that everybody can bring something to the table if they want to.
Right there.
Thing is, people that don't want to, and they have to do it because their parents or I don't know what convention. If you don't want to, don't waste my time.
Where it's established,
forget me.
I don't know if you
so
guys have ever
absolutely
heard about
education.
But if you don't, you will
starting
eventually
point
in your life.
Getting also into
in
the
a
industry
contract,
as soon as possible is also very
between
good.
the parties.
Don't just
The good faith between the
I got
parties
what
mean
I wanted to say
that
before.
they both
when you get
are
into
agreeing,
the education wheel, it is a business in
to
itself.
do what they are saying they're gonna do,
and this means that
and that's the good thing.
the business of the education system is to have people to teach them whatever.
And it's
so when you get into it,
you have to believe it.
They tell you,
you cannot
you do this, you're gonna be fantastic. You have a great career, especially when we're talking
about
like professional education, right? Either university or technical degrees, it doesn't matter. It's like it's supposed to prepare you for the labor force, right? And their business is to have you for as long as possible studying whatever they have to offer.
The beginning.
So if you started the technical degree, they're gonna sell you a university degree or another technical degree or a master's degree or whatever degree they find. Or they have, or whatever. So it becomes a never-ending story because even though they tell you you're going to be amazing with this, you're going to have a great career with these, especially
everything is based on good
these
faith.
other stuff.
But there are
that can be
that when you read
that can be a PhD,
you wonder
that can be a postdoc,
how
that
are
can be
they
a
going
whatever, that can be another specialization, that can be another course in something else. But there's always something to learn. That's the beauty of it, and the beauty of their
that everything
system,
is
their business.
To protect one of
that's
the
why I'm saying.
And the other one has some
studies
rights,
is good
but
to have a basis, but it's not just everything. And don't fall into the trap of believing that you need a lot of degrees to work, because that's not punishment true.
Versus there is one.
That's not true. I notice that sometimes when I'm working with a junior dev who doesn't have a degree,
there is a contract that is
if I find a skill they're missing that is pretty important to their job, I tell them to take 1 or 2 evening classes to get that skill, and I ask them on other things until they get it.
Benefits both
nice.
parties.
Sometimes the answer is to take 1 or 2 classes and not even get the whole degree. Exactly.
So there's
exactly my point. Exactly my point. I remember when I was
and
studying,
that's something that
I felt because I didn't want to
about
study when it was time. So when I was 19, 20
already
years,
there.
I didn't know. I
They
had
showed that
no
respect
clear image
and
of
that
how,
value
where.
the developer.
I didn't know. So I was lost
Because
for the longer time. I was studying law, but I wasn't pressed to finish.
Like
I wasn't pressed to do really anything. I did not know.
A lot of NDAs, right?
So
non-disclosure agreements.
Once I got myself into
whatever
it,
you're talking,
I felt like I
to
wasted time, that I was
you
behind, that I was, a disgrace,
divulge,
and that I needed to compensate.
You're gonna share.
I needed to compensate that time that I wasted. So okay, law degree was not enough. I needed another degree, so it would compensate. So make up for the time that I wasted on my law degree because it took longer than it should have. So I decided to study business, and then when I finished business, it wasn't still enough. I needed to do a master's because the both degrees were from the same university, and then I needed to add another university and another level of degree. So I did the master's degree. And regarding languages, 3 languages wasn't enough. I needed to add 2 more. So a lot of languages, a lot of degrees. When I finished those degrees, I also enrolled myself into something else. But I got pulled by the workforce, right? For punishment by the work environment. So I stopped that. But I regularly, especially early on, after finishing, I thought about it a lot to maybe do a PhD, to maybe do some other master's degree, to go back to that. And a friend at the time told me, Eva, this happens to you because you were successful doing that, finishing your studies. It was it was a win. And right now, because of the circumstances of life, not always everything goes according to plan. So sometimes we fail. And at that time, I felt like a failure. So that's when I thought about doing a PhD or doing another master's degree or doing studying again, right? And this person told me that I needed a win, and that's why I was looking to get myself into that, but that was distracting myself from the real important issue, which was advancing my professional career, concentrating and what my professional career needed to solve the issues that I was having. It was awesome. It was awesome. Who
pays is the one.
This word, it's a false word. It's a false friend of English, of Spanish. Hold on. Advice, because it's it's consejo in Spanish, but if you false translate it into English, you would say counsel, but it's not counsel. It's advice. It's advice. It was an amazing advice, and it's true. And I found it in. Actually, after many years, I found it in other people. When you see people that considering, I'm considering going back to study, and I'm like, listen, work, learn, improve yourself. You already have your degrees. Go on, just build upon that. By yourself. It is all related to the video game industry, even if you don't believe it. The thing is that there is no standard road here. We're in a society that is post-industrial. We're in a society that is the information society, which means that, but we keep on the structures of the post-industrial society. So we are still taught as workers of an industry that it doesn't exist anymore, where we should be thinking about hacking the system, because there is no, if you do A plus B, you will equal C. That road that happened for our parents and our grandparents, it doesn't exist anymore. If you study a career at the university, you probably will end up with, if you're in the States, with the credit loan, with the loan that it will take you years and years to pay if you can. And really, is that the only road there is? Probably not. Knowledge is ready and available everywhere around you with internet. There's so much knowledge available for very little money. And then there is no profession. The current professions, you can build upon them. There are still some professions that require you to go through certain hoops, like to be a doctor, to be a pilot, to be a lawyer, to be an engineer. There's certain things that definitely you need to be proved, because you're handling lives of people. So it's okay that as a society we want to make sure that you're not going to kill anybody by accident or by lack of knowledge. That makes total sense to me. And I don't think that those professions are going to change in the short time. So when you're you might be responsible for the life of people,
you definitely say names in public, just in case.
Well, if you're working in entertainment, if you're working in the information society,
publish their
why you either know or you don't know.
There was a lot
you
of
either
talk,
disrupt or not. You either create or not. It's not like you don't need anybody certifying you as capable of doing anything. You just do it and prove it. It's like it's like, okay, here it's very common to get a degree, a certificate, for the knowledge of a language, right? Normally English is very requested. And I've never, ever in my life have gotten a certificate of knowledge in English. Never. My position has always been I either know or don't know.
That is standard contract.
But what point? Why would I need a certificate of language? However, on German, I do have a certificate because that language is freaking crazy. It's so tough that I wanted, at the high of it, I wanted a certificate that said, hey, I reached here. Yeah, even though those certificates, it's German, so they know how tough their language is. So after a year, that certificate is void. So saying that anyway, I still have it. Is your treasure, or your shit is my treasure, or something like that. But which means that whatever I think that you have trash, you can prove it. I've been able to pass tests. Oh my god, because even if you have your certificate, they are going to ask you. So can you talk? Can you write? Can you can you read? Can you do basic things that you have to do when you know a language, right? And when you're employed or you're looking for a job, I don't know how other companies do it. But what we do at Abylight is we do a test. We do a test for everybody. For everybody that goes into that opening, there is a test that is equal to everybody. So for us, we're able to judge based on the same test for everybody. Legal point of view. It's our leveling point. Has seen different situations. People that get that test is able to then we go and look into the CV. And the first thing that we check, that obviously depends on we're looking a senior, a junior, a mid, whatever, right? So bear with me. But after the test, we look into the CV and we look the experience and we look hobbies and we look into software because even for the artists, when we look for artists, and we have our pipelines of work, and we use a specific software. However, people learn another software. I don't know. If you know our software, the software that we use, great. Otherwise, we will give you time to learn the tools because the knowledge is in you, the talent is in you, the drive is in you. It's not in the tools you use. I don't want a freaking expert on any tool. I want someone that is able to solve issues no matter what it's before them. I want people that are able to create, and create is solved differently as it's been done. So not even the knowledge of a tool I'm gonna give you kudos for it. It doesn't matter. Of course, programmers, we are using right now Unity. But we've used so many other things. We've created our own engine, C++ engine, and a bunch of other engines, honestly. We've used Game Maker for professional reasons because we got into publishing and developing games with developers that use these tools, and we had to get proficient on them and we learn them and do it because that's not the job. The job is not to be a great whatever using one tool. It's like asking a carpenter to just be good using one hammer. That's so stupid. Why would, and if it gets broken, it cannot work? That's so stupid. A carpenter should know their craft and have a wider range of tools to create whatever needs to create or to repair or to whatever, right? It just anyway, I get very passionate as you can see. But So we look into the CV,
of
the experience,
that we didn't
have
get
they worked at the company,
the ones that we got.
for how long, doing
Because the ones
what,
that we didn't get,
what
I can
games
see, oh my
have they
God,
done.
if we would have
That's
gotten
super
into that,
important
it
actually.
would have been
And
madness.
if there's
It would
no
have been
experience
crazy.
into
Where the
you know,
path
professional
that we went
experience,
on,
and they bring you know, a
it got us
portfolio,
here, so
we check the
I cannot-
games,
I
we
cannot say
check
that,
what kind
it
of
was bad,
games, the
right?
quality of the
It
games,
got
the
us here,
depth,
whatever we did.
whatever we can check,
When
right?
checking,
because sometimes we will be able to check the code, other times we
just
won't.
say this with
We check
regard
what
to
we can
work
see,
for hire,
what we can
because
get,
I think
and
it's-
the
it's
portfolio
very
is
important.
also checked. Depends
And
on
it goes also
yeah,
when
the
looking
portfolio.
for a
Not
publisher,
everybody
right?
has a portfolio
So,
to check.
If you're looking for a publisher,
If there
or
is
doing
one,
work for
we check
hire,
it, and then we draw
it's
a
gonna come
whole
also
evaluation
out the
of
budget.
an applicant
And in video games,
like that, right? That's our
a game
process.
by
And again,
with
is
a
it
budget
important
of
that they have a
100,000
degree?
euros might
No.
be
We actually get applicants that
an
don't have a
enormous
degree.
amount of money. And
we have people that
the
don't have a
same
degree,
game
or that
done
their
by someone
degree is
else
very basic,
might be not even the first
and it's
month,
not an
or the
issue.
first
For
month.
us, it's not an issue. I
But
always
that's
say
not-
you're gonna
that's
learn
not
more
entirely
working
true,
here than in the
because
school. However,
there will
if
be
it's the
no-
only education that you have, it's good that you know you go to the system to get certain knowledge,
and execution
experience.
is what
It's
makes
good.
the difference here.
It's what we have right
And
now.
the
Hopefully
project that
it'll
are
change with time,
euros
because currently it's
have
so rigid, it's
nothing to
so
do with the one
fixated
that is
into
10
how it
times
should
more.
be.
Even if the idea
Not
or the
good.
concept is the
Anyway,
same.
and that's how we
Have you seen
analyze
that
applicants.
meme?
Do we check applicants that
is
come
5
at a
minutes,
moment
that is like
when we don't
design
have a
5
job
minutes.
opening?
And
A job
it's
opening.
like a
We
blog
check
or
them.
something like that. And then it's designed
Okay.
in 1 hour.
We
And
receive a
it's like
lot of
super
musicians,
elaborated,
a lot
super
of
original,
musicians.
super
There was a
fantastic.
time
Well,
that there
it's
was
kinda
even
like
more.
that, right?
Now it's like
Heidi Baxal. So he's asking
Several
whether
weeks.
I am a developer, okay, or who is
there
a
was
developer.
times that it was
Not
even
sure if
more.
he's talking
we
to me
receive
or to
artists,
Albert.
we receive
If you're
applicants
talking to
for
me,
apprenticeships that we don't
Abylight
have
Studios
openings.
is a developer and a
I
publisher.
want to answer my own question, but I don't want to close any door.
Me personally,
But I
I'm
guess
the
that the
CEO
short
of the
answer
company.
is
I
no,
don't
really.
develop directly
'Cause if
myself.
we don't
I'm
have
not
an
a programmer,
opening,
I'm not an artist.
It's
I'm not a
gonna be
designer.
very hard to.
If I want to give a good impression of
you know,
the
check
difference,
a
the
CV
main
and think,
difference
oh,
for me
this is what I
from
needed
work
and
for
I
hire
didn't
in
even
the
know
past
it.
versus
That's not
now,
really gonna happen.
It's about
And
the
if I
creative
am
freedom.
looking, if I have a job opening,
I know
I
that
want
right
to
now, current times, even
to
if,
have option
there
to
is
check
payments,
the wide scope of it. The short answer is
publishers
no.
pay for
And
development.
it's sad.
They
To
do
me,
it
it's sad
based
because
on
I
the
sometimes I have done it. When
it's the
I was
creativity.
young,
The
I
creativity is
actually
the
presented.
big difference.
Did
Because
I?
maybe in the
Hold
past,
on, did I?
of course, the developer has
I
to
don't
had
think
to
I ever
have
applied to a
creativity,
company
but it was more
that
designed
they didn't have a job
on
opening,
the publisher
actually.
itself or the production company.
No, I
Where
don't
today,
think so. I think I always applied to
or
job
these current
openings.
times.
And in
The
Abylight, the
publishers
thing is
are
that because
looking
of the
for that
laws
special
of
something
data
that the developer
protection
is bringing
and you
to the
know
table.
that personal
Not
data and
only
all
the
that
ability
stuff,
to produce,
keeping a
but
CV is tricky.
ability
So actually, once we
produce
close
creatively.
a process,
I guess at the
we
end of the
delete
day,
everything.
the publisher
We
wants
delete
to
all the
have
information.
a project, a
So
product.
we don't
it's
have any
going to stand
leads
out,
or any
it's gonna make
issues
their
with
life
the
easy
data protection
terms
agency.
of,
And same thing goes
of
for
sales.
the CVs
'Cause
received
when you go to the store,
you know
as
that
we
are
all know,
that
there is
are
so
not
much,
requested or because of
so
need.
much noise.
We
There's
have to
so
delete
much
them
noise
for law
everywhere.
by law because otherwise
Especially
it's a
if you work
whole
digitally
management
or
and it
relate to
complicates
other people
stuff.
digitally,
Complicates things.
if you
really.
use social networks.
But you know
if
who I would check?
if you know connect your console
I would
to,
check
to
someone
the
that sends
internet,
me their game
which
and asks
all of
me,
them
tells me that
It is-
you know
it
I've done
is
all this
so loud.
and I know
It is
that
so
you've
hard to
done
stand
this.
out
I would be
that,
really interested in joining
one step
your team
is by creating
because
something
you know
is going
that feels
to
a bit more
stand out
personal.
on its own.
I understand that that's very hard to do.
Anything extra,
and
as a publisher.
It's very time consuming, and it's a shot in the dark, literally. But, because as I said, as a rule, we're not going to be considered.
I think I'm creative and I can create a concept for a game, but I really
if I don't have an opening, how am I going to hire someone?
If I don't design and I don't do anything.
However, what it might be very interesting to do would be to be knowledgeable
that anyone can do it, but if you
in the companies that you're interested, which means
yours,
follow their Twitter, follow their social activity.
Not everybody knows how to do
not all of them in the stalker
and actually
type,
it is
but
funny because I see a lot of
keep an eye on it because eventually we're gonna have a job opening, right?
So
when that happens is when you have to present your application,
working for hire.
And
I see a lot of parallels. Because maybe
if you're really that passionate,
IP
5 minutes will be enough to draw to write some lines.
You're gonna be
why
finding
you
yourself
join
in the
Abylight,
same situation. The
It
big
is
difference here
it's
going
going
to
to
be
be sad when
and I know it's a big
I have an
but
interview
also
with
the
someone
budget's
and they don't know
different.
nothing
It's not the same
about
work for hire
Abylight.
budget, but it is
Which
your own
listen,
IP.
if we already have an
absolutely.
interview,
I think
you already have
that's
passed a test.
when
You've
you create
already
your own
spent
IP,
time doing something to
you
join our
have
team. So
all the
why not spend some time,
into
checking
how it is,
social network? It
what you're
doesn't
gonna
take that
do,
long, really.
So
that's
but
what
then,
I would do. I would do,
when
I
you
would
go
keep an
into
eye
looking
on
for
the activity
financing your
of
project,
that company that I want to
that's
join.
going to be an issue.
And
Because if you're looking for financing
and be proactive, social
publisher
network,
is
that's the
gonna
beauty
have
of
to
it.
say-
You can
it's gonna
actually
have to
interact with
It's gonna
me,
put
the CEO,
milestones. They're gonna
on
'cause,
every week
still
for an
publishing
hour
is a business.
something,
It's not
which is
charity,
very
and
unique.
it's not a
I
way
don't
of
think
financing
this kind of
hobbies,
interaction
right?
has happened
They are
ever
looking
before
for content
in the history of
and
humanity.
they want it when
I'm
they
going a bit overboard
decide
here, but
with you, you're going to deliver and eventually
keep
you
an
will
eye
have
on
to,
their job
right?
openings.
And
It's gonna
agreeing with the
happen
publisher
if you
to
know about
release your own
their
IP,
company.
we'll
it's
have some
gonna be
attention.
easy
We'll have
to
some strings, that's for
hit
sure.
where it's
Because that's the whole point. You're looking for
important
that.
to do.
You want someone
I
to
think
share
it's gonna be it
the
for
research
today. As
you're
always,
going
I
into,
would
right?
invite everyone to
No, I don't see a way
come
for a new developer to get funding for their own IP.
to
That's not
our
fun.
Discord channel server.
That's
sorry,
what. No,
our
honestly,
Discord
no,
server.
it's not like this
And
anymore. Listen, there was a
and
time.
request
Maybe
subject information,
5
ask questions.
So thank you very much for everyone for listening.
Maybe
and
6
for
years ago
being
that
here.
I
honest to God, it felt like there was no more money for development.
No.
But the developers.
See you next
itself.
week.
The
Thank you very
publishers
much.
were doing
Have a good
more
one.
investment.